Where in South Carolina are you from?
Greenville. It's sort of in the upstate area.
Yep, of course, of course. Are you from there originally?
I'm from Tennessee originally,
Okay.
but I've lived there for 20-something years now, so
Okay, so you're a South Carolinian,
that's right.
as they say,
Yeah.
right? So what was early childhood like for you? You did most of your growing up, your adolescent years in Nashville?
Well, I grew up before my parents divorced. We lived in North Carolina off and on. There was a lot of moving around. And then once my parents divorced, my mom moved back to Tennessee, which is where my parents are originally from, a small, tiny little town. And I think I started the 4th grade there.
Got it.
Yeah.
What was growing up? Were you playing sports? Did you have siblings?
I have an older half sister who's 4 years older, and I have a younger sister who's just like 14 months younger. So we're almost the same. Of course, growing up, she and I, the younger sister and I, that was tough because when you're that close, you fight. Now we're close as ever. The older half sister was sort of in and out of our life. Sometimes she would be with her dad. Sometimes she would be with us. She got pregnant really young at 15 and kind of started sliding off the tracks and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so she was sort of in and out of my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you directly impacted? And I'm going to your profession in a moment.
No, you're fine.
But were you directly impacted with addiction when you were a kid or even in your teen years? Anyone in your family?
Everyone in my family.
Everyone in your family.
Yeah, pretty much everyone in my family. All the grandparents, my dad's parents. My mother had a meth addiction. She ended up using with my older half sister. My dad, not so much, but he married about 3 or 4 other women who've all had addictions since.
Wow.
So pretty much everywhere. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So,
Yeah.
and you weren't, addicted, and you didn't have any substance abuse problems or anything. So what was it like for you? I could only imagine having that many addicts, alcoholics around you is a very chaotic lifestyle.
Well, the funny part about it is if you would have asked me then, I wouldn't have even realized it. Because when you grow up in it, it's just normal. And you don't even realize it's not like I didn't realize that people drank or used or did what they did. I just wouldn't have attached addiction to it. I wouldn't have thought it being problematic at all. Just because it was just so normal. It was just everywhere.
Was there a lot of erratic behavior and just compulsiveness all around your household?
That's a good question. I would say for the most part, people were pretty functional until the end, right? And so when we moved back to Tennessee with my mom, she did pretty good for quite a while. She got licensed to be a hairdresser. She did hair. That was back when the big perms were in style. We would spend the Saturdays in the shop, and that was fun. And she eventually got into she eventually got a boyfriend who I think was selling meth and got into doing that with him. And I didn't quite realize it at the time, but at some point it got to the point that my dad had to move back to Tennessee from North Carolina where he was to basically just come get me and my sister. And he just basically came, picked us up and said, "You're going with me." I wasn't happy about it because I was like early teen years.
Yeah.
And I wasn't thrilled about it. He moved to take care of us and I think right after he moved, he got a call from the Department of Social Services saying, "If you don't come get these kids, we are." And he's like, "I already got them," like literally like the next week.
So was there a period of time where your mom was not in your life?
Well, after I moved with my dad, I would still see her.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say she was ever not in my life. I was kind of always the kid that was like a hero kid in a dysfunctional family. So I was always so focused on whatever I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I was just sort of oblivious. I was just sort of had my blinders on. I was working. I was going to school. I was doing my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of unaware of everything around me. Yeah. And even though my mom had all those problems, I thought she was a great mom.
Yeah.
She was fun. She was pretty. Everyone liked her. She had lots of friends. So I don't have a lot of bad memories per se. Now I will say that if she was supposed to show up somewhere, she would either show up really late, as in like hours, or not at all, or a day or two late. There was that as far as erratic behavior.
Yeah.
But as far as the way people interacted, you would have never known it just talking to them.
Mm.
Mm-mm.
So it's crazy because I do think addiction is a disease, right? And when a young woman has, a mother who, is present sometimes, may show up, may not show up for you. I mean, it could cause some serious trauma.
Right.
And the fact that got out unscathed without any kind of, and again, you said a lot of people in your family
Oh, yeah.
had addiction problems, so it was in the genes. But did you suffer any kind of traumatic pain from any of that, or experience any?
I don't think so. I think, if anything, I think it's made me more resilient because I kind of say I raised myself.
Mm,
And so I feel like because of that, because I've always taken care of myself, there's a sense of competency, I guess, where you're not too afraid because I never had like a helicopter parent that made sure I did everything or had everything or was going to school or anything like that. So I feel like in that way it helped me a lot.
yeah,
My parents are very loving, caring, not critical. Like I never have any memory of being criticized or even bossed around in any kind of way. As far as their ability to provide, that's probably where things were difficult. Growing up, money was a huge issue. My mom didn't have money. We sort of lived in government housing and that kind of thing. But as far as like emotionally being taken care of, I feel like I'm lucky in that regards.
yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell the audience what it is that you do now in the addiction space?
Well, I've been counseling people with addictions for more than 20 years now.
Hmm.
And these days I create a lot of content. So I still do some coaching a little bit,
Hmm.
and mostly I create content. And most of that is focused on helping family members know how to get through to an addicted loved one who's maybe in denial, either doesn't think they have a problem, or maybe they know they have a problem, but they don't want to get help for it, or they're like, I got this.
Hmm.
In some of those earlier stages of change, we teach families what to do in that situation.
Hey guys, quick update. Every Monday night, I host the Rise Above Recovery meeting. It's an open meeting for any addiction, alcohol, drugs, gambling, food, whatever you're struggling with, you're welcome here. To get the meeting link and weekly updates, just email me at kevin@riseabovepod.com and I'll add you to the list. Also, if this podcast has helped you, please like, subscribe, or leave a rating. It helps us continue to spread the message of hope. Lastly, if you'd like to go even deeper with Rise Above, check out our Patreon. Supporters get access to live interviews and can chat with guests after the interview. Thank you. Well, I want to thank you because I know firsthand. I'm 7.5 years sober. 7.5 years ago, when my family found out that I had this raging pill addiction, uh, everyone wasn't educated,
Right.
and no one really knew what to do. Um, so the fact that there is a lack of education and you're out there helping families get through that, especially it's a family disease,
Hmm.
right? So the family also suffers.
Everybody suffers.
Everyone
Everyone
suffers.
suffers.
So
Right.
what do you provide for the families? Do you provide more of an educational, well, you did say that, how to handle an addict or an alcoholic, but do you also provide emotional support as well?
Yeah. When I first went out into private practice, we sort of created this family model where when people would come to see me, usually I would see the person who has the addiction. And I had other counselors who worked with me, and they'll see the family members. We call it lawyering. So we do it, we treat the whole family, but we just don't do it in the same room because, in our experience, people are not in a good place to be in the same room in those early days. And they either get in there and fight and then leave feeling worse,
Mm,
or they don't want to fight in front of the counselors. They don't say anything, and then they leave feeling like, well, why are we doing this? This is useless. And so we treat the whole family system. We just do it separately. We
mm,
call it lawyering. And we mediate a lot of it behind the scenes.
yeah.
Yeah.
What is one of the most important pieces of information that you give to the family to help them, increase the chances of that addict or alcoholics, um, you know, for them to get in recovery?
The biggest, most important piece is to get out of the bad guy role. naturally what happens when someone has an addiction is you love them, you're scared, you rush in, you try to help, and usually all the things you're trying to do to help are not so helpful, because usually those things are either trying to control it, trying to talk to the person about getting help. If the person's in denial, you might spend a lot of time trying to convince them that it's a problem by telling them how they're screwing up their life and yours and all these things. And what happens when you put yourself in that position, which is a natural reaction, it's a valid feeling, it's a natural reaction, it's just not helpful, because what happens to the person that has the addiction is they just build a resentment about it, and they get very, very preoccupied and focused on that loved one. It's usually, I mean, it could be more than one, but there's usually like a primary one, usually like a spouse or a parent or the main loved one. And they fixate on this person as the problem, which then blocks them from being able to see the real problem. And so, and I know that from 20 years of talking to people who have problems, if the family member is still in that role, that's all they'll talk about. Like, they come to my office and for months and months and months, they won't talk about anything else. And that's why I started the family model, because I'm like, I can't even get anywhere with this person as long as the parent or spouse or sibling or whoever it is doing all the things they're doing. They just stay in a resentment, self-pity cycle, and that fuels the addiction, and it basically sort of blocks their view from being able to see what's really happening.
Mm. And is it more of like a control? Let's say it's a parent, right?
Mhm.
Is it more of like a controlling role that the parent tries to take over let's say it's an addict, i.e., shutting down their bank accounts, making them stay inside, going through their phone to see who their dealer is, calling the dealer, telling them fuck off or I'm going to
Yeah.
rat you out to the police. What's the difference between that and then what is the difference between, I mean, I know the definition in a dictionary, but like, what is the difference? Like, is there advice that you would give someone who then is enabling? Because, oh, I don't want Johnny to stay out in the street tonight, so I'm going to give him money for a hotel.
Right.
But that's really enabling them.
Right.
So what's the difference there? And like, what's the approach?
This is a great question, because I have a lot of thoughts about enabling, and they're very different from most addiction counselor thoughts, at least. Most people think of enabling only as, like what you're saying, giving them money or maybe a place to live, essentially like financing them. And some people go as far as basically like if you're still having a relationship with them and you're taking their calls, maybe some people view that as enabling. And all that, the money thing is enabling, but it's not the biggest issue. Playing the bad guy role is the most enabling thing you can do. You know, giving somebody $20, yeah, they may go out and buy whatever, but that's not going to make or break anybody's addiction. If you allow yourself to play the villain, they'll use whatever crazy thing you did or said that one time for the next 20 years to justify what they're doing. $20 is gone in 5 minutes. One outrageous, crazy knockdown, drag out fight where you lose your mind will give them the emotional currency to continue making bad choices for years and years and years. So it's not like I encourage people to give a lot of money. You know, I wouldn't say give someone thousands of dollars a week or whatever, which we do see that happening, but I'm not as big on the money thing as I am the emotional piece of it, because the relationship's the only leverage you have, and you're ruining all your leverage when you're destroying the relationship.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point, because I can speak to the addict standpoint, and resentment is a huge thing with
Yeah.
addicts and alcoholics. And I used to use towards my, a resentment that I had towards someone.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it was that shame and guilt and the F you.
Yeah, like I'll get drunk at you kind of thing.
Yeah, it's almost like that.
Yeah.
And it's funny, once I was kind of set free, I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Yeah.
what am I doing?
But you can't see it till you're
Out of
set,
it.
like you said, set free, and not even just immediately. A lot of times you got to be out of it for a bit before you can really look back and see things like that.
Yeah. So why don't we take one more step back here? You end up going to school for addiction, or how did you get into the field? Yes, of course, you had your family and
Right.
all of that, but walk us
That's
through
a
the
good
path.
question, because that's, even though I grew up in it, it's not why I got in the field. I wish I could say it was, because it's a much better like origin story,
Yeah.
But it really wasn't. I didn't realize all that until I was in the field. So I went to college initially, didn't know what I wanted to be, decided I would be a teacher. specifically, I wanted to be a health teacher. So I majored in health and human performance, which anyone knows me knows that's crazy because if you threw a Nerf ball to me from right there, I would literally go like this. Like, so I don't know why I majored in that. I got out, I moved to North Carolina because my grandmother was there and got a job as a teacher. That was horrible. I was taught high school. That was really, really hard. And then I decided I would get my counseling degree. So naturally, I thought, well, I'll just be a school counselor. That just seemed like the natural step because I was already in the school system. And I couldn't really afford to take off an entire year and intern as a school counselor, which is what it would take. So I switched my major at the last minute. They threw me into community counseling. I got an internship last minute in an addiction program. And so that place where I interned hired me. And because I'd been a high school teacher for a couple of years and I had worked, 6 months in some adult IOP addiction program, they decided that they wanted to have a teenager addiction intensive outpatient program. They wanted me to design it and run it, which was crazy because I didn't know what I was doing. I was in so far over my head. I mean, trying to counsel teenagers with addiction is the deep end of the water for anybody.
Yeah.
And I was like brand new baby out of counseling school. And I know people think they teach you how to do this in counseling school, but they don't. You have one class on addiction, and that consists of go to a few 12-step meetings and write a paper on it. And they teach you like the Jellinek disease model. That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing about what to do about it or how to work with someone.
What was one of your biggest takeaways about, the youth and addiction? And because I feel like when I was, let's say, what age group were you working with there?
Probably anywhere from about 14 up to 18.
Okay. That age period for me, I didn't want to hear anything about addiction. I didn't want anything to do with it.
I didn't want to hear anything about anything.
Yeah,
that age,
exactly.
Right? Yeah,
so what were some of the takeaways? Like, how were you able to get through to some of these kids?
That's another great question because I learned my most important lesson from doing that. Because I was new and I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't want to lose my job. So I didn't want anybody to know I didn't know what I was doing. So I ran this program at night, most of the bossy people were gone, thank gosh, in this hospital. Most of these kids had just come out of an inpatient setting into it was like a step down program. And so I decided, well, I got to get these kids to show up. Otherwise, they're going to know that I don't know what I'm doing, if no one's coming, if I don't have any kids on my census. And so my whole goal was, how do I get teenagers with an addiction problem to show up 3 times a week for 3 hours a session and sit in this tiny room about half the size of this room we're sitting in and talk to me for 3 hours at a time. And so my entire goal, I didn't have any fancy addiction tricks. I didn't have any fancy tricks other than I just got to make this experience not horrible to make these kids show up. So I just focused on connecting with them, just listening to them and hearing them. And I kind of made the motto, like, we like you more than they like you, meaning we like you here, myself and your other peers like you more than your using friends like you. And it worked. It worked. These kids got clean and sober because they liked to come and they had to get clean and sober to keep coming. Yeah. And then I started this mentor program where if you graduated the program and you wanted to keep coming back, you could, as long as you weren't causing trouble, for free, as long as you wanted to. And so kids wanted to be mentors. They wanted to keep coming, so they got sober. And then they became mentors and they helped other kids get sober. And that was literally, the whole program stood on that premise alone. That's the relationship is the leverage.
It's funny you say that because the meetings I go to, the self-help 12-step meetings that I go to, it is emphasized to help another recovering alcoholic or addict.
Absolutely.
Like keep repeating the cycle. And I can't keep what I have, such as my sobriety,
right,
unless I give it away to someone else.
Right.
And that's interesting that you implemented that model and it kept these kids on the straight and path.
Yeah, a lot of kids really did well. Now, I won't say that they never, fell again, but that's never really been my goal with helping people. My goal is to make sure they have a good experience because so many people are reluctant to get help. Not so much that they always have a bad experience, but they think they're going to have a bad experience, at least beforehand. So my goal is to make sure someone has a good experience so that if it doesn't work for whatever reason, they're not scared to either come back and see me or go somewhere and see someone. They're like, you know what? I'll just go back, when they hit the wall again.
Yeah.
And I have found that that's pretty successful. Yeah.
Do you keep in touch with any of your like first clients? Is anyone still sober from, I mean, listen, relapse happens in
Yeah.
recovery. It's very common. And the odds of someone staying sober are slim.
Yeah.
Have you kept in touch with anyone that is still sober today?
Oh, yeah. So even some of those teens that were in that program, a couple of the girls that came through that program, when I went out and started private practice, I started intensive outpatient. They came and were recovery coaches for me in that
No
program.
way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then their parents, and yeah, I still hear from them. One of the parents of one of the kids that came through the program, well, he didn't come through because I had to kick him out like twice. Which, if you knew me, is really bad because it takes a lot for me to
kick
put you.
someone
Like
out.
I'm not that like you mess up, you're out. Like you basically have to put someone else in jeopardy. But that person's mom is one of the coaches that's with me now. And she sees the parents. She's awesome.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So what prompted you to spin off and start private?
A couple of things. I'd worked in the hospital for like 10 years, and I think part of it was just being a little bit burnt out and want something different. And then the other thing is when you work in an acute care facility like that, it really is like a revolving door. And so you see people coming in and out, in and out, in and out, and you can see that it's just not working. People aren't getting what they need, and particularly the families aren't getting what they need. You would bring in a person, detox them for a week, and send them right back out there. That wasn't working.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to do something else.
Take a deeper dive.
Yeah, take a deeper dive.
Did you start the family support
Yes.
portion as well when you spun off privately?
Yes.
Okay, so you did kind of like a whole offering for the addict alcoholic and the family as well.
Right. Because when I ran that teen program, the first few years I was a counselor, I pretty quickly developed a family program that went along with that. And we did the same thing, like the families could graduate and be mentors. And that program, it used to meet in the gym in the hospital where I worked at, which wasn't the size of like a school gym, but it was big. And the families about outgrew that. I mean, the families really kept coming. Even if the kids struggled, the families would come. And so I created a lot of relationships with the parents. And I just learned how important that is.
Yeah.
Because, I'd be talking to these kids who'd be telling me what their mom, dad was doing. And I'm thinking to myself, if I could just get them to stop doing that, I could get somewhere. But then you can't just tell these parents what this kid is telling you, or adult, or they have confidentiality. So I had to figure out a way to get these families this information without breaking someone's confidence.
Is it common to have a client come through and then you hear from the family that they passed away?
I've had it a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the reality.
It's the reality.
It's a sad reality.
It is.
It's a battle that, we're losing. And
it's terminal illness.
Yeah. What is one of the most beautiful cases that you had that really just hit you at the core?
Gosh, it's just hard to narrow it down to one. I have so many. And the thing I love about this work, anything else related to mental health, addiction is the place to be, because people don't just get better. They get better than they ever were or would have been. It's not just like, oh, I got where I could manage it and I got back to baseline. Like, you don't come out the other side of this without becoming a better human being. You have to just work some muscles that regular people don't have to, like being very self-reflective and humble. You have to constantly be aware of what your own intentions are, and you have to have a level of honesty with yourself and others that regular people don't. And so you come out just a better, stronger human being.
Yeah.
And watching people do that, it's amazing.
Yeah. Just curious, how is your family doing now? Is anyone sober or clean from?
My mom passed away. My sister, I haven't had contact with, my older sister, in a long time. And so I don't know how she's doing. My younger sister is like me. She just never went She just never touched it.
Straight and narrow.
When you live in it, it doesn't even look enticing. It doesn't look glamorous like it does, I think, to some other young people.
Yeah.
My dad is doing all right. My grandmother passed away of esophageal cancer, which was related to her drinking. And my grandpa passed away too, related to his addiction.
Yeah. How many kids do you have? One?
Just this one. Yeah.
Okay. How have you coached your son, given all the knowledge that you have? I mean, you've seen many cases. You've seen probably all types of cases, severe, light. What are some preemptive measures that, and I'm asking this for the parents that are listening, that maybe you have taken on your son or that they can take to help keep their kids away from drugs and, air out that curiosity?
As much as I wish there was some kind of magic bullet or conversation or thing you could do, I don't really know that there's any way to inoculate anyone from this. I think everyone's eligible to have this problem, from a good home, a bad home, it doesn't matter. I answer questions when he asks. I'm not a big scare tactics kind of person, especially with young people. You can't scare young people because they haven't had bad things happen to them yet. You can scare adults because they're like, yeah, if it could happen, it'll happen to me. But you can't scare a teenager because they're, sort of invincible, or I got this, or, I can handle my stuff,
Yeah.
So I'm just keep it real. Like I'm not trying to be overly panicked about it.
How can a parent help their kid when it comes to peer pressure?
I think the stronger your kid's sense of self-esteem, and the better their skills at being able to build relationships, that's probably the best thing you can do, because they just will be slightly less, I guess, I don't know, influenced by it. But to be honest, I feel like everyone's influenced by peer pressure. Adults are influenced by peer pressure just as much as teenagers are. Yeah. And so when someone has an ability to relate and create connections, I do think that helps them to some degree, because a lot of times it's not just that kids that do drugs, it's addiction hits you when you're down usually. And so when you're going through those teen years and you go through that first big breakup, or maybe you're not being treated well, or whatever insecurity that you're dealing with, and then you start doing whatever, not just for on the weekends or having fun or for peer pressure, but to self-medicate, now we have a different problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So being an addict, I noticed after doing some work on myself in the program after getting sober, I noticed that as a kid, I just wanted to be heard and seen.
Yeah.
What are some practices, let's say, that you do with some of your clients, the younger kids, to help them, cope with being seen if they're not being seen, or being heard if they're not being heard?
I just focus on hearing and seeing them, these days I see mostly adults. I see a lot of really like high functioning alcoholics these days, but everybody wants to be seen and heard. And so if you're a parent, if you can just sort of get control of your own panic buttons and your own sort of mom guilt and your own sense of like, I need my kid to be a certain way because they're a reflection of me, and just listen to them. They want to talk. Teenagers want to talk. Like people say all the time, like, my kid doesn't talk to me. And that's because if they tell you something and then you're like, well, I told you this or that or the other, then they're just not going to tell you anything. I've seen young people on and off, and they want to tell me everything, including what they ate for breakfast. So yeah, they just want to talk and be heard. And if you just use good reflective listening skills, they'll talk to you. And that works for any age, really. Yeah.
Do you emphasize community onto, the addict or the alcoholic? Let's just say the adults that you're working with. Do you emphasize community and branching off and not just seeing you, maybe going to a meeting? Or
I encourage people to try all the different things. I like to say I'm sort of non-denominational recovery. I say go try everything at least 3 times, because the first time is just awkward for anything. So go try it all 3 times, come back and tell me what you like. I do think it's helpful to have community. I think for young people getting sober, it's particularly important because a lot of young people who have addiction, it's literally their identity. It's not just this problem they have, but it's like who they are. It's the whole lifestyle. It's everything. And so you almost have to help a young person create a new identity. And the best way to do that is to be like, I'm the recovery kid. I'm like, this is my new thing. This is my new brand.
Yeah.
So especially for young people, I think it's important. A lot of the adults I see have community in other ways, but for me, it's about surrounding yourself with people who bring out the best in you, who make you want to be a better version of yourself, wherever you find that.
So something I have learned from my own experience, and not everyone believes this, but alcohol, drugs, gambling, sex addiction, those are all symptoms of my disease. And the problem lies within here, my thinking and deep-rooted issues, whether it's insecurity, fear, resentment, whatever. Do you do some of the deeper work with your patients? And what have you found to work to kind of help them get to the core root of their problem?
I feel like there's a couple of pieces. One is just understanding the psychology of addiction, the way that your thinking is going to work. I call it the monster mouths. I like to name them. What are they going to say to you? So identifying what your monster mouths are so you can kind of catch it when it's trying to trip you up. And then other than that, what I do is I'm real sort of strength focused. I help people identify what they're really good at. And I say, really, addiction is just a superpower. It just means you're obsessive and relentless. Let's just put it to something good. Yeah. And so I help people steer that in a direction that works for them, that they feel proud about and good about, instead of something they feel bad about.
And what are some tactics that you implement to help them build up, let's say, self-esteem?
One of the things I do is just, I can identify usually pretty good what people are good at. Like I watched a bunch of your podcasts before coming over, and I watched an interview you were on someone else's, and you're really good at listening to people.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're good at not self-reflection, but reflective listening and paying attention. A lot of interviewers aren't good at that because they're thinking of their next point or the next thing they want to say. Yeah. So I can identify it in other people, and then I point it out to them, and they're like, yeah, you're right. And then we start looking at things they've done in the past and how they've been successful at whatever is I call it your genius, and how they can build on that.
Yeah. So almost optimizing towards their strengths.
Perfect. Optimizing towards your strengths. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like for me, so as an addict, I feel like I need to be good at everything. And if I'm not, I could be good at A, B, C, but I suck at D. I'm not good. I think I'm the worst person in the world. Yeah. And my self-esteem is just like shot. I'm worthless. Okay. Right? But like, let's take a step back. You're good at A, B, and C.
Right.
Let's look at the odds. How many people are good at A, B, C in this world? And it's like, okay, well, you're doing great.
Right.
But like my thinking is like, no, you're a piece of shit because you're not good at everything.
Right.
And I'm very drastic. I'm like almost like a bipolar, okay. From one spectrum to the other very quick. So that speaks to your method and, taking a step back, looking at it. How do you help? You said you work mostly with adults, but even when you were working with kids, because they're very impulsive, how do you get them? And you mentioned it before about stopping and thinking about it and taking that break because of the impulsive. I'll just fight the big mouth. I think you said big mouth.
The monster mouth.
Monster mouth. Yeah. I just fly back. And if I have a big feeling, I'm just acting on it quick.
Yeah.
And then anytime I use the pause, take a step back and put things into perspective and shift my perspective, things always work out good.
So the way I might shift what you're talking about, like let's say you were sitting in my office, you were talking to me about this thing where it's like, I know I'm really good at this, but I get really freaked out and beat myself up about every strength you have has a counterpart. And so if you're really good at one thing, you're automatically not great at the opposing force of that. And so instead, I call it not my genius, right? This is not my genius.
Yeah.
And so when you realize that inherently, if you have certain strengths, you're really good at going this direction, then you're naturally not great at going that direction. And that's okay. It's supposed to be that way, right? And I feel like when you when you realize that, it shifts the gear. Like, for example, I give people something called the Clifton Strengths Test. And there's one on there there's one on there called fairness. Like, some people are just really good at being like fair, equal. They treat everyone the same. I'm not, which sounds terrible. Like, I'm not fair. I believe everyone is very different. My strength is individualization. So I don't give everyone the same. I don't feel like everyone should get the same, because I feel like every human is unique, and the way I react to everyone is unique based on what they're bringing to me. And so if I'm automatically good at seeing people individually, I'm probably automatically not good at seeing everything equal and the same.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It doesn't bother you, I think, as much when you see it that way.
Yeah. So to go back to the family piece, before you talked about the $20, right? Just give them the $20 because they will use against that. $20 won't really go that far.
I'm not saying give it to them. I'm just saying don't beat yourself up if you
Got
did.
it.
Like,
Got it.
Yeah.
So I stopped using and I got sober when my parents and family had tough love towards me. They were
Okay.
just like, done, enough. See ya.
Mm-hmm.
You're not coming to family parties anymore.
Okay.
See ya. That worked for me.
Okay.
Do you find that working for families? Like, would you, enabling everyone just stopped?
I think it has to get uncomfortable for someone to stop. The scale has to tip, the pros and the cons. The cons have to start to seriously outweigh the pros for quite a while.
Mm.
As far as like super tough love and making people hit bottom, that's a dangerous slope. Because, like, let's say if you kick someone out, you think in your mind as a family member, they're going to know I'm really serious. They're going to get their act together. They're not going to have a place to live or whatever. That can backfire on you, because once someone, let's say, does live out on the streets, they get used to it. And then there's really no pulling them back. I mean, I'm not saying no pulling back, but it's really hard to pull someone back when there's nothing left. They get used to it. It becomes their everyday normal. You can't take things away from people enough to make them stop. That's the nature of addiction. People lose their homes, their freedom, their children, their careers. They lose everything and still keep doing it. So it's a balance between not rescuing someone is more what I would say. Don't fix it for them more than you have to make it bad for them. Because what happens in the addictive mind is, if the negative consequence comes from the family, a lot of times what happens, they just get focused on that resentment.
Mm-hmm.
So you want the uncomfortableness as much as possible to come from the universe and not from you. Now, sometimes, I mean, you have to draw lines in the sand for safety or financial reasons or whatever. But whenever possible, I like to let the universe be the bad guy.
Well, but then, okay, you don't want to kick them out on the street because then they may get used to it and it could backfire on you.
Yeah, and I would say I don't tell someone not to kick someone out.
Right.
I'm saying don't kick them out because you think that's what's going to get them sober.
Okay.
If you're asking a person with an addiction to leave your house, there's a lot of really good reasons to do that. Like, I can't have this in my house. This is making me crazy. This isn't safe or whatever. Those are good reasons to have someone leave. But a lot of people think, basically, it's like a bluff. It's like, I'm going to threaten this, or I'm going to put you out, or I'm going to leave you for 2 weeks, and then you're going to figure out and you're going to sober up.
Got it.
And almost always the using escalates from there.
Right. So unless a parent is truly ready to let's say it's their son or daughter, go out on the street, then do it. Don't do it as a bluff, because that could potentially backfire on you.
Exactly. You make those decisions for you, not because you're trying to control the outcome of what's going to happen with that person. I mean, sometimes we push, they get uncomfortable. Like I said, people have to get uncomfortable and they change, but that's not a guarantee. And that goes bad just as often as it can go the other way.
Yeah.
So it's risky.
So where could people find you if they wanted to get in touch with you and potentially use your services?
The best way to find me is on YouTube. The channel is called Put the Shovel Down, and that means you hit your bottom when you put the shovel down. You don't have to keep going. You don't have to lose everything. You don't have to burn every bridge. You can be done when you're done.
Your YouTube channel is called Put the Shovel Down.
That's what it's called.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And are you on Instagram, or are you more just on YouTube?
I am. Like, I have accounts.
Yep.
But I'm mostly a YouTuber.
And if people wanted to contact you, though,
Hmm.
can they do that or?
Yeah, they can contact me. We have a website.
Okay.
It's hopeforfamiliesrecoverycenter.com. You can find me. But the best place is on YouTube. There's over 1,000 videos there.
Oh, great.
It's free. There's information for family members. There's information for people who are thinking about getting clean and sober, for people who are early in it, for people who are in the later stages of it. There's a playlist for everybody.
If you had one piece of advice to give the person who's listening right now who is struggling, what would it be?
I would say that you are not powerless. You don't have to lose everything in order to beat this thing. I see people beat it every single day. And don't listen to those negative statistics out there. Because number one, they're not even accurate, okay? And they're not true. The whole 1 in 10 people make it. I think that comes from treatment centers who do some follow-up surveys and stuff. But it takes most people multiple times to get sober. So if you say, hey, how many people make it after going to treatment once, maybe that's 1 in 10. But how many people get sober in the end is way more than that. It takes more than once for most people. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on, taking the trip.
Me.
And it was so nice to meet your son as well.
Yeah.
And I really do appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.